So what does it mean to weave the silk through the pearls, to thread the eye of the needle? This will be our topic today. In Homer's Odyssey, there is this metaphor that comes up of threading the eye of the needle. And this is about a ship that's sailing along the ocean, and there's a monster in the sea, or it's a monster on the rocks of the shore, one or the other. And the monster is going to eat the crew, or there's this other monster that's going to suck in a bunch of the ocean and I guess eat whatever's inside and then spit it back out. So, in one case, 6 people will die because it's a 6-headed monster. And in the other case, maybe everyone will die, but maybe not. You don't know. So you're sailing along the ocean and you have you're being pincered between these 2 awful monsters. What do they call them? I wrote them down. Charybdis and Scylla, like these 2 monsters. Now, when it comes to the experience in spiritual evolution along these paths, the monsters are you. The monsters are your habits, your conditioning, your societal attachment, your upbringing, how you've had what's right and wrong imposed on you, and on and on and on and on. The monsters are you. Everything that is part of this little identity that we call ourselves. So what is the way through this this tapestry that's being woven with the silk and the pearls, this tapestry that's being woven by threading the eye of the needle? This comes down to recognizing and realizing on a moment-by-moment basis your personal Akashic consciousness, this light of the spirit that is free from conditioning, from distortion, from illusion. From that place, distortion, illusion, conditioning, all this stuff, it auto-resolves. It's like a universal safety mechanism. Now, to exist from that place on the continuum of forever, in the space of always, this is a very difficult thing to do. That's a big part of the practice. That's why we meditate on very, very refined aspects of frequency, of reality, of release, so that we can do this as unimpeded as possible. And as we get more attuned to existing from this recognition of our personal Akashic consciousness, all the other stuff starts to auto-resolve into this space of we might say, our spirit light essence. So to realize this is to become fluid and flexible. This is often referred to like a child, right? Fluid and flexible like a child. And to remember that innocence of childhood adaptability and free flow of feeling, of an unconditioned expression and feeling and action. Now, very often, this is heard, and then the person regresses, and this is something that we want to avoid. So while this openness, this fluidity, from a moment-by-moment responsive basis, this responsive plasticity is occurring in the 3 bodies and centers and fields, in the vital, astral, and mental bodies and centers and fields, where it's coming from makes a difference. So yes, there's adaptation constantly occurring. You're constantly morphing and reforming and reshaping. And there's an evolution occurring, but this particular type of evolution has to do with the volition that this freedom is taking place in. So this initial return to childlike innocence, why it's always misunderstood is because of the motivation and the volition, right? A child's motivation is from the place of instinct. The volition is from the place of the survival as instinct. And so, yes, you have free flow of emotion, free flow of expression, freedom from conditioning, but it is inspired by survival instinct, which is very, very, very different than our alternative. The alternative to having this free fluidity of plastic change and blah, 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 is to have the inspiration come through the illumined light of the spirit, that illumined Akashic consciousness. What this does is it changes it from a survival-based responsiveness to a responsiveness that is motivated by the illumined tenderness of the heart, of compassion, that is even beyond the intuition. And so this free-flowing dance of responsiveness, of like innocent responsiveness and constant adaptability and reforming and changing and reshaping, allows us to progress through the evolution of the spirit, because it's coming from the light of the spirit, from that emptiness of the Akasha. When your motivations are from that place of compassion, of tenderheartedness, of goodwill, of joy, then the expression, that spontaneous expression, is vastly different than when these motivations come from survival instinct. We want to be very, very clear about this so that we can avoid some major pitfalls and stagnancies on the path. It's very easy to stall out in this constant excitedness of, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, look at the world, oh my God, it's like a kid, I'm full of wonderment, which is great. You want to be full of wonderment, you want to be full of joy and excitement on the path. But when that's being clung to from the survival instinct and pedestalized from the survival instinct, what we get is a very tense, it's a string pulled very, very taut. And this is almost always coming from a place of fear, which is what the survival instinct is, which, makes it real hard to actually progress. So keep this in mind so that we can continue our progression in the absence of, shiny, sort of, we might say, the illusion of light, reflections of light. Okay, we want that honesty. We want to make sure we're really, really going through that evolution. So from this understanding of that childlike innocence and that fluidity that's always occurring for spontaneous and illumined adaptation and evolution, one of the common responses might be a rejecting of rigidity. And this is a very natural thing to fall into, because, okay, well, if fluidity and adaptability is good, then rigidity is bad. So what do? We've created an either or, and now we're rejecting any sense of shape and form, any sense of encapsulation that is, the forms that life takes itself. So this is always a lie, the lie of rejecting. In different traditions, let's say in the Vajrayana writings, they have the three poisons. Rejecting is a poison, accepting is a poison, and indifference is a poison. These are poisons of the mind, these doings that the mind engages in, based on separation of either or. So, and we might think, of course, fluidity is obviously the best thing. But if it is attached to as the thing that is different from rigidity, then we have an issue, because we will start to lose all sense of, and it's not even an identity thing, it has to do with orientation to truth. Your orientation and movement towards truth, unimpeded by what we've discussed, will be altered, because any resistance will be perceived as, oh, that's something that I should just accept, another poison, right? I will fluidly accept whatever is here. Accepting is also a poison, just as much as rejecting is a poison, just as much as I don't care, whatever's here, whatever, doesn't matter, doesn't affect me. This is also a poison. So the lie of rejecting rigidity is the lie of clinging to fluidity. This is a tricky one, and we want to spend a lot of time contemplating this so that we can navigate truthfully through the experience of spiritual evolution. This brings us to threading the needle as another lie, threading the eye of the needle. Now, often people look at, like, say, the dark night of the soul is something you hear about as well, the threading the eye of the needle, on and on. These terms and phrases are bandied about in self-development and spiritual communities as if they are singular experiences. Okay, now you graduated, now you're done, right? You've gone through your dark night of the soul, now you're done. And this could not be further from the truth, unless you're real special. Then yeah, maybe you have nothing and you are nothing, and that's just how you start. However, for most who are working through the path, these experiences are forever. There is no other side. The eye of the needle is always, and the thread is forever. What this comes down to is the place from which this is all being experienced. When you're experiencing this from a place of the identity being stuck in, say, the needle or in the thread, then it's this real precarious walk. You're like, walking walking the line, walking the razor's edge. It's very, very precarious. But when we are able to move beyond this a little bit, what happens is these experiences of compression and expansion, of the identity being compressed, of conditioning being compressed and then released, this becomes something that exists in a free-flowing space. Because of this, we are not subject to entrapment of that condensation and expansion. So this comes down to the weaving the silk through the pearls. The silk of, we could say, the light of perception that might be the silk, is being woven through the pearls of appearance. Always. So the appearance of compression, the appearance of, I'm squeezing through all my stuff and, then I'm going to break free. This is all perception. And perception, the light of perception, yes, weaving through the pearls of appearance. This would be, let's say you do a physical art like Tai Chi, or you dance or whatever. What is that? What is all art? It's taking perception and awareness, and you're really weaving that through the appearance and the shape and flow of that art. So maybe you're painting or doing calligraphy or whatever, and you have the light of awareness, and that light is moving through the appearance of, say, your arm, or let's say you're walking and you're aware as you walk, and through the movement of the legs, there's this always a spiral. That's how nature works, is in these spirals. When life is unfolding and moving, that movement of energy. So you get this very artful expression in everything. Now, what's very interesting for anyone who's done a lot of meditative practice is the deep experience of appearance. Appearance's truth, we might say, is the emptiness. Appearance is emptiness. It is that empty luminosity. So we end up weaving the light of perception through nothing, which is the appearance. So nothing, the appearance and nothingness, which are one, are perceiving the appearance and nothingness, which are, the same. So this leads to a very, very interesting exploration and interplay when it comes to these experiences of, okay, I'm going through this period of darkness. I'm having this hyper ego compression as I'm moving through the law of rhythm on this path. These dank experiences, these dark experiences, these destructive experiences, they're always like, the downside of that law of rhythm is like, okay, now that you've gone through this big period of evolution, let's illuminate the mistakes that you are making. Vroom. And you go, oh yeah, that's all the mistakes that I was making. And these can be super, super subtle, meaning they're very difficult at that point in our evolution to perceive. So we don't notice them, so they build more and more and more and more. They continue to build, and then eventually they build enough that bang, we hit the downward side of the rhythm. So we want to be aware of this, and when we do hit that downward side of the rhythm, that's the real practice of under what duress can we sustain realization of this weaving the silk through the pearls. Right? Every word that is written can be written from the place and read from the place. When you're reading a work of art, it sucks you in. It sucks that attention, that awareness, that perception into the words and starts to pull them through the appearance of the words. And this happens when you read very illumined texts from very developed practitioners. You get sucked in. Again, weaving silk through pearls. This is at the essence of the path of evolution, that spiritual experience, the path of light. We want to be very familiar with this and continue to explore it. Because eventually, the pearls, the appearance, the emptiness, become the silk of that light of perception. The pearls are perception, as much as they are empty appearance. The thread is appearance and emptiness as much as it is the light of perception. And this is the dichotomy at play, the dance of duality within the non-dual infinite view, we might say. So this brings us to alchemical rejuvenation, right? This is an important topic to discuss. So very often, at different stages of the path, we release these big blockages of identity, of these past holdings, of conditioning, and on it goes. And from that, because of that stuff that we're no longer holding on to, that we're no longer constantly fighting ourselves with, there's a huge amount of energy that's released, a huge amount of vitality that has never been tapped before. Why? Because you're no longer burdened by the tapeworm of you. This is important, right? You are sucking out your own life force all the time. So because of this, the tapeworm dies, right? And then boom, so much more energy. So there's often rejuvenation and healing, vitality, clarity of thought. On and on it goes. We become restored. Now, what do you do with this? When I first started experiencing this, many years ago, what did I do with this? I used this to practice more, to train more, to sleep less. So every time I had one of these breakthroughs and I had more consolidation of focus, less distraction, so more energy, letting go of all these parts of me that like needed to be right, that needed to be this and that and the other thing, that was constantly rationalizing and coming up with the logical reason about how I was right in this situation and that situation and blah, blah, blah. That starts to go, man, so much more energy, right? So, I slept less, I trained more and more and more and slept less and less and less. There were phases where I was waking up at, 2:45 in the morning, sleeping, maybe 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever, and, train for 6 hours before going to teach, to come back and train before teaching, constant using of all of this newly liberated energy, which of course led to, a lot of health issues and very depleted vitality, which I'm still recovering from to this day. So we don't liberate our shit typically all at once. There's some stuff that's being opened up at different times, and these layers of giving up of identity, of the past, of these projections of the future, all this stuff, yes, it's liberating energy. Now, could that be used for healing and rejuvenation and vitality and all this good stuff? Yeah, but it depends on what aspects of you are still locked up, right? So because of the particular aspects of that I had that were locked up, and the pride of pursuit and the meaning in that, and all, some things that might seem on the outside, from the outside, very good, the discipline and all this stuff, that was all coming from a place that wasn't so good, but it was baked into or hidden in the practice. So these things, these evolutions that we go through, can have very, very rejuvenative effects, right? The very restoring effects. What we do with that energy is very important. So we want to contemplate these things, ideally prior to going through the experience, so that when we are offered profound accesses to stores of vitality, that we are a little bit smarter with it than, say, I was. Because, once you dig your hole, it is some work to dig yourself out of it, because you can't dig yourself out of it with the same shovel that you use to dig yourself in. So, we all go through evolution in a different way, and we want to be very, very cognizant of this as we progress. The reason that I mention this is because very often there is this imposed illusion that when you are going through growth, it means this set of symptoms or experiences, that a sign of development is restored health and all this stuff. It certainly can be, but it's not always the case that everything occurs all at once. So we want to be a little bit kinder with ourselves and acknowledge the path that is unfolding, and recognize the unfoldingness of it, and not the unfoldedness of it, right? If we can avoid the trap of thinking that we're done, then we can keep growing, and hopefully in a safer way. Okay, so what happens when we have gone through a lot of this liberation, and this plasticity has taken over, this fluidity, this ease of shift and change and expression, this adaptability of the bodies, the centers, the fields, the opening of the matrices? What happens when all of this has reached a certain level? Well, the living nature, mind substance, starts to express itself through the resonant alignments that are present, and alters the resonance of those alignments based on the open nature of the matrices, so that the change in resonance can pass through the different bodies and the different fields, and all the fields and bodies can come into a more harmonized unity with that particular alignment, right? A more harmonized integration with that particular responsiveness of that moment, that spontaneous frequency modulation. The unity of this offers an open door to the sovereign nature of free will. This, this is, I mean, we've talked about this a lot. This is, of course, a dichotomy, but it is, once again, at the essence of this, this path is free will, and that sovereignty that is only open to us and offered to us once that unity of resonant alignment with higher sources of light start to come through. So this is the freedom, the sovereign freedom for inspired creativity, for inspired and spontaneous creativity, inspired and spontaneous responsiveness, inspired and spontaneous frequency modulation, right? Based on the moment that you happen to be in, and the relationship of that moment to eternity, as eternity. And of course, freedom for the inspired modulation of identity. Different identities come into play for moments and break apart again. So this living mind substance, living intelligence, this starts to animate us via the vehicle of light. And it becomes a fascinating exploration of non-attachment, of that openness, of simply, I don't know, right? There's a lot of energy in the I don't know, and then from that that humility, the intelligence, that living mind can come through. So threading the eye of the needle is no punishment. We want to be clear about that. Going through the dark night of the soul, this is no punishment. Nor are either of these end points, right? When we look at them like end points, we will always fall into aspects of spiritual materialism. The possibility, of course, is always there to choose, we might say, freedom, but it is not the way that we often think about it as an either or. This is very much that neti-neti experience of not this, not that. So the choice, the choice is not now. The choice is not to then. The choice is not when, right? The choice is eternal and it spans infinity. And this is the existing in and as and from and of the personal Akashic consciousness and the light of the spirit. This allows us the opportunity to explore weaving the silk of the infinite through the pearls of eternity, time and time again. In every action, in every thought and every feeling, there is we could say maybe it is motivated from, or it becomes out of infinity. It becomes out of that tender-heartedness, that compassion. And so every action, every piece of experience, every piece of expression is, we could say, an act of art. It is the light of perception weaving through appearance, weaving through the pearls of appearance, and the recognition of eternity and infinity, of emptiness and appearance, of light, all moving and articulating in these flashes of spontaneous form culmination and falling away. So this exploration of weaving the silk through the pearls and the way that I'm discussing it, I find to be a much more timeless and spaceless way of exploring these types of metaphors. And you know, that silk and the pearls, that's the that's the Ouroboros, right? That's the snake eating its tail as well. So it really opens a lot of doors, and it gets us out of the okay, I did my dark night of the soul, now I'm done. I did my, threading the eye of the needle, now I'm awakened. This is a perpetual, a continuum. It's a continuum a continuum in a timeless expanse, which I know breaks a bunch of logical barriers. So from this, we know that we are not the needle, we are not the thread, we are not the eye of the needle. We aren't even both sides of the eye of the needle. We are all of it and none of it. And because of this, we are free. So this is a space that we want to begin to weave. We want to begin to understand this weaving of the tapestry of all of this, and that weaving of the tapestry of spiritual evolution and this path of cosmic consciousness, emptiness, and beyond. For training, please check out the website. We have courses in Hermetic alchemy, Qigong, meditation. There is a Tai Chi program there. And of course, the Zenden, which is a Q&A video reference library. So any questions that you have, I get back to you via video there. And then for personalized meditations and transmission outside of retreats, I do offer private lessons as well. These are typically best done after doing a retreat though, so we have strong familiarity with the frequencies that we're working with. All right, thanks a lot. Hope you enjoyed this, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye. Practice.